Hello again, welcome back. So today I'm in a 2004 Jaguar XJ. Jaguar have made the XJ since 1968 and it's remained relatively unchanged until the radical 2010 model. They made this particular XJ model, codenamed the X350, from 2003 until 2009. It's one of Britain's best loved luxury cars. It's basically a Union Jack on wheels. This is the petrol model, but I'm actually surprised it doesn't run off T. Sure, you could have a BMW 7 Series or a Mercedes S-Class, but wouldn't you rather have the Jag? You don't see the Prime Minister or the Queen being driven around in the back of a Lexus LS. They're always in the back of an XJ. And surely that's reason enough to buy one. The X350 looks chubbier and chunkier than the X308 that it replaced. But although it looks fatter, it's actually got all aluminium body panels. Now, it's got air suspension, so as you can imagine, the ride is superb. But you'd expect it to handle like a bit of a boat, wouldn't you? Well, it doesn't. It's surprisingly agile. In fact, it's easy to forget how big this car is when you sat behind the wheel, because it feels quite nimble. It's only when you try and park it you realise how enormous it actually is. Because of its clever air suspension, there's hardly any body roll. So it does make it quite engaging and quite fun to drive. And it really does feel at home on these twisty country roads. They offer a wide range of engines as well. There's the entry-level 3-litre V6 like the one I'm driving today. They offer a couple of V8s, and don't forget about the hysterical supercharged V8 they offer in the XJR. There's also a 2.7-litre diesel, which is good if you do lots of miles, but not so great if you spend most of your time driving around town. To be honest, as much as I'd love one of the V8s, there's nothing wrong with a 3-litre V6. It produces 240 horsepower, which is... It never feels fast, but it's adequate. It's more than enough, really. You also get a 6-speed automatic gearbox, which does return sensible fuel economy. On a run, you'll average 35 miles per gallon, which is very good. So why would you bother with the diesel? Unless you're doing 25,000 miles a year, this is probably the engine that you want. This is the Sport model, and this is the model I would opt for. I think it just looks better. You get bigger wheels, you get less chrome. It just has more presence. I prefer the stance of this one. If you go for an SE, you get the same size wheels as the casters on my filing cabinet. It just doesn't look right. So go for the Sport. Used prices are all over the place. Being an aging luxury barge, they do depreciate enormously. But expect to pay a big premium for a low mileage example with proper service history. I wouldn't buy the cheapest one you can find either, because I think that's a bit short-sighted. It'll end up costing you more in the long run. If you have a look on Auto Trader, you'll be able to find an 03 or 04 with a load of miles on it for a couple of grand. But what I would do is be prepared to spend 3 times that and get a proper one with proper history, sensible miles, in the right spec. Let's talk for a second about reliability. This is the part where I'm going to get loads of angry comments about how unreliable they are and how expensive they are to maintain. But I'm just going to stick my fingers in my ears because I don't want to hear it. It's a 15-year-old complicated luxury car. Of course it's going to cost you more to maintain than a Yaris. It's common sense. You can't expect to buy a 15-year-old car and not have any issues. The XJ's Achilles heel is corrosion. Although it's got an aluminium body, it does suffer from corrosion quite badly. So just make sure that there's no blistering or bubbling on the paintwork. On to fuel consumption. Round town, I'm averaging 24.8 miles per gallon, which is quite impressive for a big heavy car with a 3-litre V6. That's not bad at all. The V8s will do a couple of miles per gallon less than that, and the diesel will do a couple of miles per gallon more than that. On a run, if you're gentle with it, you'll average 35, 36 miles per gallon. But on a run is when the diesel will come into its own, because you'll probably get mid-40s. Driving it is just so smooth and refined and quiet. You could drive it all day and not get tired. So this car's 15 years old, and I think it still looks fantastic. It still turns heads, it still gets complimented. I can't imagine an 04 730 diesel getting the same sort of attention as this. Well, it wouldn't actually, because the 7 Series was always an ugly beast. The interior is a lovely place to be. It's roomy and spacious, and being a Jag you get lots of extras. Although a sunroof, heated seats and sat-nav are all extras, which I think's a bit stingy. It's also got the standard Jag feature. Have a look at this. I doubt there's a single XJ on the road without one of those stickers. Not only is it very comfortable, it's also good fun to drive. Like I said before, it feels quite nimble and agile. The steering's good. It feels quite chuckable for a big heavy car. The rear legroom's not as good as you would get in a Mercedes S-Class or even a Skoda Superb. But to be honest, if you buy one of these, you'll want to drive it rather than be driven around in it. The seats are soft and comfortable, but they're also quite supportive. They actually hug you at the sides. You've also got a comfortable centre armrest, which is the same as the one in the XKR, which was my point the other day. And you've also got some storage in here to keep all the essentials. I like all the stitched leather you get around the centre stack. I like the glossy wood. I like the analogue clock. I like the J-gate gear lever. It just feels like a traditional Jag, and I like it. The boot's quite long, but it's also quite shallow, so it's not as roomy and deep as you would imagine. But to be honest, if this won't do the job for transporting whatever you've got, then you really need to buy a Volvo V70 or something, not one of these. Now, the other day I was driving a new shape Audi A8 with the V8 diesel, and I really enjoyed driving that thing. It had so much power and so much torque, I just found myself driving it quite aggressively, flashing people in the middle lane to get out of my way. But this couldn't be further from that. This is just relaxing and calming. The difference is, driving the Audi, I felt like Jason Statham or Jason Bourne. Whereas driving this Jag, I feel like Jacob Rees-Mogg. And that's the difference. The Audi feels like it's made for the 21st century, and this feels like it's made for the 18th. But I think that's one of the reasons I like it, you know. It doesn't matter then if you're a cabinet member or a cabinet maker. The XJ just makes you feel special, and a Mercedes S320 won't. So thanks once again for watching. I'm nearly at 2,000 subscribers, which when I started this channel 3 or 4 months ago, I didn't think that that would be possible. So thanks very much for your support and for subscribing. I really appreciate it. It's just given me more drive to make more of these. So yeah, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done already, and I'll see you next time.